Hello, everyone, and all are welcome to Collateral Benefit. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Mercadal. With me, as always, is
Will Watkins, aka Life with Louie haircut.
Life with Louie. What a throwback cartoon. Louis Anderson, rest in peace. What a funny guy. What an interesting reference to then make judgments about you on.
Yeah, because I look like Life with Louie as a kid. Like I look like that
You
cartoon.
did.
So it's like
Wow.
every once in a while when I don't put in hair product and it just all falls, I'm like, oh yeah, I naturally look like if I said that like.
Oh my God, that's such a specific reference.
They
For
like
those
the butter.
for those of you who do not get it, and I'm sure there is a lot, then go look it up, Life with Louie, and you'll do a side-by-side comparison, and you'll realize that, yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it with the description. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is Collateral Benefit, a self-improvement fitness podcast. It started as a way for us to just hang out, and Will and I are friends. We live on opposite coasts now, and we were like, we got to talk to each other, man. We got to hang. We are unqualified in every way to talk about life improvement. We are the equivalent. Actually, we are as qualified as any life coach out there to give advice. Life coaches are not a real thing, but we are not qualified to give any medical or psychiatric or financial legal.
We are qualified to be friends.
We are qualified to be friends. And if you want to be friends with us, join us in the chat. Tell us about, let's see, what did I put up here on this thing? How are you improving your life? What's an unexpected or surprising way that it has improved other areas of your life or the lives around you, right? That's kind of what we discovered as we were talking about this podcast. If you choose to improve yourself in some way, it will have ripple effects that will benefit you and others. And that's kind of what we're here. That's why we do the show. So with all that said, it is Sunday, the Lord's Day. And let's just go to church. Let's just see. I would go to this gym every day.
Yeah.
Do you see this? Okay, so for the audio listener, if you're listening to this, we are showing a video. A church has been converted into a gym, and that looks dope. Doesn't that feel like that would benefit you in some way to like get your lift, go to church? I mean, go to gym. Well,
good tall ceilings, a lot of airflow in there.
It probably, if it stinks like old church, not gym.
That actually, I think this takes place in in England, so it's like super old. But in Chelsea, there was a place called the Limelight, which was an old church, and then it got converted into a club kid party scene. It's where the movie Party Monster took place.
Yeah.
Where like some dudes OD'd in there all the time, and Lady Gaga came out of there, and it was like all drugs and heroin and stuff. And then it got shut down, and then it got turned into a gym for a while.
Oh,
and I think now they're opening up a pizza shop.
Capitalism. I'm one of those believers. When I was when I was more broke than I am now because of said capitalism, I had to eat and buy groceries that were not fun. Like every other fitness person in the world, you eat like I don't know. We send memes back and forth to each other, of course, like all friends in the modern era do. The one of them was like how like ladies talk about their health and fitness meals, and then how dudes do it, and it's always like the influencer dudes are always eating like 10 pounds of ground beef or turkey with like 16 cracked eggs in it, and it's like you have to eat, like if you're really focused on getting gains, you have to eat accordingly, and it's not fun. So in that same vein, I would have to buy groceries calories per dollar. Have you ever had to do that?
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden you're like, I could buy this bag of potato chips, or I could buy this bag of actual potatoes.
Yeah.
and eat for, you know what I mean? This bag of potato chips I can eat right now, or I could eat this bag of potatoes over the course of a week and save myself some money. I've talked about it on other podcasts where that sort of becomes the like goal when you're hyper fixated on your fitness to disordered eating levels.
Yeah.
When you're broke, it's like you're forced to eat disordered by default. And one of the things I read, to bring it back around, is that no matter what you're doing, if you're struggling, go do it in a pretty place. If you have to eat your baked potato with nothing on it, take it to the park. Take it, go watch something you enjoy.
Take me to church.
Take me to church. Take me to church, Jim. I will say I wanted to join that gym when it was the I forgot what gym they called it when it was at the Limelight, that church, because like, that'd be dope to work on a church. And then it was like $300 a month, and I was like, oh no, looks like I'm gonna be worshiping at Planet Fitness. Hey, do you want to worship in a building, or do you want to worship a planet?
Yeah, man.
I mean, but yeah, that was a thing in your life where there are certain circumstances that have been unavoidable, right? Like you have to deal with certain things, you have to address certain things. What has been like your way of current events aside, we need to make shitty situations more palatable and pleasurable if possible. What have been some of your tactics of like, we got to do this again? How do I make it fun? How do I make it enjoyable?
As far as like food and stuff, you mean? Like,
kind of, it can be, but more like how do you, if you ever had a shitty job? Last week you talked about like the working in the line at a restaurant.
Oh yeah.
That is not well, that's the thing. It can be a fun job, but it's not an easy job.
Yeah, it's not. It can be fun. I will say though, I don't think I've ever eaten as well as I did when I worked that line. When I worked in a kitchen, at one point I was working in they called it the pantry, which is where you make all the salads and all that stuff. And it was also where you made the shrimp cocktails. And so the way we did it was because it was such a high, a very popular restaurant, we would actually call it sandbagging, where we put seven cocktail shrimp in a little plastic baggie, and then we would just fill up a whole thing full of just bags of shrimp. And then at the end of the night, if we didn't sell any, it's shrimp, you can't save them. So
right.
So I was just eating like 20 to 40 shrimp every night. At the time, I didn't really go out to like places that serve shrimp cocktails, so I didn't realize I was like eating so good. And I didn't realize that I didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't realize how much protein I was getting, where I was just like, oh, this is tasty. I thought they were like popcorn shrimp, like you get it like
Red Lobster or like Long John Silver.
Meanwhile, I'm just like chowing down on like a couple $100 worth of shrimp cocktail.
It's not a far stretch to assume that we are not shrimp cocktail crowd people. But it is like those, again, what a collateral benefit. Like when you're paying attention, that your job, you got paid, but also you got paid in shrimp.
It was also funny, like working the line, getting like free food, because it was like one of the most annoying things to be a server is to have somebody send back their food and be like, this is overcooked. Right. And but I love that working in the line, because it was like you can't. So they'd be like, this is supposed to be medium rare, but it came out medium well, and I'd be like, all right, and I would just like put it in the fridge underneath, and then at the end of the night, I would have this like filet mignon or this tower of meat. They had this one thing that was like, it was like a filet mignon, a chicken breast, mahi fish, and it was like this. They called it the protein tower, and it was just like an excuse for these like rich golfers to like flex their money. Right. So then I had just like tons and tons of meat.
Bring me one of every animal and stack them on top of each other like so I can knock it over. Like I can, like I'm a titan of industry. That.
But yeah, the collateral benefit is I didn't realize it. I was getting so much good protein.
Well, yeah, that is
And that's
pretty
when I
good.
was like starting to like fill out as like an 18-year-old, like getting that good muscle on you.
Yes, what a weird time as a boy to turn into a man.
Yeah.
There is that period of time where you're like, I'm a child, and then all of a sudden you don't see it, but then someone will just be like react to you the way a man would, like they would react to a man, and you're like, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm just a child, I'm a boy,
I'm
and
just
they're
a
like, no,
baby.
I'm just a baby, and they're like, no, you're a man, and it's like, oh shit, like what an odd feeling to suddenly be seen as a man. Yolanda is in the chat. Welcome, Yolanda. Inches matter. Gross. No, inches matter. I just joined the convo, but hey, welcome, Yolanda. What are some, if you're in the chat, what are some methods by which you have found that, oh, I tried working on this other thing and then I benefited in this other place? Like I tried to get better at reading and suddenly I got really good at cleaning my apartment to avoid reading. I got really like it can happen that way. I'm just fascinated by that idea lately because as I've been trying to like work on the fitness with my back, my core has gotten stronger because I'm trying to correct an injury, not because I'm trying to make my core stronger.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I started swimming to get some break off my spine. We talked about that last week.
Oh yeah,
where I started swimming in my pool. And coincidentally, I track, everything I do on my watch. I fully have given away all bits of privacy, as we all will soon. I've given away all my privacy, and then so I'm sharing that with some people, and they see, oh, you did a swimming workout, and then people were like, and then I got to kind of reassess my home living situation where I have like a gym and a pool in my apartment building. And people are like, really? And I'm like, oh, I should feel I do live shrimp cocktail life. I do. Interesting.
That is one of those things I look back, like my last year, a couple of years in Florida. I lived in an apartment building in Lake Worth, Florida, and it had a parking garage in the building. It had a gym, and it had a pool on the third floor. So you had to and it was like a mile from the beach. And like looking back, I'm like, I was so accustomed to living in Florida that neither of those things were like outstanding to me.
That's so true.
But now it's like what I would give to have a pool inside my building that was literally one elevator trip away. Like, oh my God.
Yes, that's such it is a relative thing. Yolanda says she's waiting for cooler weather to walk.
Oh yeah,
that is a tough one. The weather. Did we talk about how hot it was in Vegas last
yeah, night? That's ridiculous.
It is crazy when you're waiting for the world to allow you to be outside and not die. But yeah, that is a hurdle to overcome for sure.
Oh my God, yeah. Like I went to the gym today, and I was like, let me go early, so I can escape the hot weather. But then by the time I got to the gym, which is like not even a mile away, like the sweat was like, I was like, I look like I just came from the gym.
Yeah. I remember those days. We are planning a trip back to New York, my wife and I, for a friend's wedding. We're going to be in October. They planned it on a 3-day weekend where, of course, every hotel is super fucking expensive. But yeah, so like I remember those days because in New York, it's the kind of stuff that, again, we talk about it, you take for granted. You're not noticing the stuff around you because it's kind of the default setting. But when you do realize, like, I have a pool and a gym in my building, how nice that is, or how many steps I was taking before I moved to a car-centric city.
Yeah,
I didn't realize how important that was. I still credit that to how good my back healed when I originally injured it. It's genuinely fascinating. When I lived on Miami Beach, I can count on my two hands the times I actually went to go to the ocean and swim. Yeah. It's just, you do end up taking it for granted. That's probably a good note for we talk about improving our lives, mind, body, and community and relationships. That's probably a great one to do as a mental check-in to see what is really your situation. What are you genuinely benefiting from? Kind
Yeah, my gratitude is actually, I was thinking about this the other day, is that I do get to walk everywhere. Like where I work, in
Mm,
relation to where I live is like a 15-minute walk. So I don't even need to take like the subway there. So like I'm like walking there every single day. I'm walking back. I walk, I go to the gym before I go to work. Like I don't have to buy like a subway card. Whereas
yeah,
before I was like when I was a dog walker, it was like I had to pay $150 a month for the unlimited subway card and travel around. I got buddies, who are at my work who like
it's
they pay.
150 now.
Yeah, it's like 150. Like they some of them take like the Long Island Expressway or the Long Island Railroad or the New Jersey Transit, and it's like they have to pay like $200 or $300 a month for that. And it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to, like I don't live in a car city, so I don't have to pay for a car. I don't have to pay for car insurance. I don't even have to pay for a Metro card. I don't have to pay for any of these train rides. Like, and
Yeah,
on top of that, I get to walk around New York City constantly, which is like good for your mental health, good for your physical health, good for getting your steps in, all that stuff. And so it's like, I had a moment the other day where I was like, oh man, this is like one of those times where it's like express gratitude for the life you're
yeah,
living.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, yeah, man, I don't have a pool in my backyard anymore, but,
yeah.
I'm walking distance to the coolest places on earth.
There is something to be said. Like I, when I moved to Los Angeles, I'm my wife and I, we made it a point to be able to live the life we are living right now because of planning, right?
Yeah.
You have to do so many things intentionally. In New York, you kind of don't. You can just live your life without any intent. You could just wander the cities, and as long as you're making enough to pay rent, which is the only real goal of every New Yorker. If you in conversation, if you ever talk to a New Yorker and you start bringing up the topic of rent, get ready for a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get ready for a discussion about stuff. So when we found our place, I got the job before we moved. So we had a location where this is where we will need to be. And of course, everybody tells you about LA traffic.
Yeah. Yeah.
We started like doing kind of these concentric spiraling searches for apartments outside as we got a little wider and wider because we knew that there's a lot of danger of like, if you're not aware of it, what the traffic would be. We did a lot of research about that sort of stuff. So now where I live is genuinely, I don't know, not like 15 minutes from where I work. And that's genuinely like with traffic 20,
Wow.
we got parking, we got protected parking, we got garage, we got gym, we got all these things. It's in a nice little neighborhood. We got super lucky with the price for rent. We tried to find a place that if we could do with one salary, that was like a weird tactic. We got
Yeah.
that, like, so we're in a situation that's not that easy right now because my wife has lost her job and we're like whatever, but we can maintain it because of some little incidental planning. And because of that, that is another thing that we've discovered where it's like, oh, I have to keep reminding myself we did this on purpose so
Yeah.
that we are where, like, we got what we wanted in a weird way. So we have to kind of honor that a little bit. We're like, we can't just complain about this shit all the time. We have to be like, no, I got we did this on purpose. We planned for this, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes you do have to remind yourself, not just about the stuff around you, but of the choices you made. It's like, that what's that saying of, not be careful what you wish for, but like, man, that you at one point you wished for what you have now, so
Oh yeah.
don't
Yeah.
forget, like, remember that you wished for everything, something like, but like that it fits on a Hallmark greeting card,
Yeah.
whatever that concept. We get it, man. I'm good at speaking into microphones.
Well, I think there's also a thing too where it's like I think this happens with like millennials a lot, where
Mm.
it's we what do you call them, like the opposite of clutter, what do you call it, oversimplification or minimalization,
Minimalization, yeah.
where it's almost like I remember as a kid and growing up, look, watching like Cribs on MTV, and they got the gold plated toilet, and they got the 10 cars and the
Yeah.
different rooms, and they got the pool, they got 2 pools and a jacuzzi and the guest house and blah blah blah. And now if I have like lotto fantasies,
Mm,
it's not that anymore.
right.
It's like I don't want to have to deal with that. Like I'll just take an apartment.
Right.
Like let me just an apartment, that sounds good. I don't want to
Yeah.
have to deal, because then it's like, then you gotta clean all those rooms, and
Wow.
it
That
is.
is an interesting concept of like, at some point, wealth fantasies included material things. And then for a lot of people, wealth fantasies just means conveniences.
Yeah.
Like, I want a chef. That I talk about this shit all the time. If we win the lotto, I don't want to think about my a meal for myself for the rest of my life. I want like, my wife watches Downton Abbey. I want a Mrs. Padmore, the lady who cooks. I want to be like, this is the menu. Uh, go nuts. And I want you to, like, I want to have that decision lifted from my mind. If something breaks, I want to be like, I'm sure someone's on it. I'm sure someone is handling that. I don't want it to be like, that's what a shift from material possessions. Like at this point, a wealth fantasy for millennials is a home,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a straight up house,
Four walls and a bed, and four walls
four
and a
walls
roof.
and a roof. But it's basically that, where it's like, I don't want, like, my millionaire fantasies is for life to be simple.
Yeah, I think
Like, that's
there were
such
a
a
bunch
weird
of
shift.
there are these economic changes that are happening in the world, where it's like, I see a lot of, like, I'm calling a boomer, but it's just like previous generations. Like the boomer thing was like, what do you what do you value most? And it was like, what do you want to spend your money on? And like previous generations were like materialistic things, cars, I want houses, I want this. But with like millennials, the top thing was experiences,
Yeah, yeah.
where it's like, I think millennials went like, radio was experiences, services, and then material goods were like third. So it's very much like you said, you wanted a personal chef, where it's like, that's number two. Number
Yeah.
one is like, I want to travel the world. I want to go to some learning experience. I want to go to education. I want something that's going to enrich me as a human being, rather than, oh, I want to have one of every game console. Or
I mean, that so that is such a weird adult thing of like, I want, because there is a whole shift to people that do want, their version of that is to buy every game console, because we can't travel and we can't do all that stuff. I want the things that I was denied as a child because of some reason. And now that I have adult money, I can buy my inner child gifts.
I
Right?
think I gave a bad example of material by saying the console, because really that is an experience, because you're experiencing the
Yes.
game, you're experiencing this escape from reality, or whatever it is. So I think maybe I should have said something like jewelry, or gold, or whatever it
Right,
is.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Art.
yeah,
But even then, that's kind of an experience. Yolanda says security and healthcare. We've
yeah,
talked about that on this show a bunch, where our what a oddly beneficial thing to think about, where you're like, in my health insurance in New York was so much better than my health insurance in LA. And it's like, why is that even a thing? Why does it matter? Why does, like, I'm sick, help me. I'm hurt, heal me. Like, what does it matter, the profit initiative or the profit motive from different insurance companies?
yeah,
But it's true. It's like, what an odd benefit to have. Like, when you do the math on what they bill, like, my salary was X amount, and then if you add my included healthcare benefits into that salary, I'm in like triple digits, or six figures. Like,
yeah.
I'm making like over $100,000 a year in the hidden paycheck, or like the benefit, the monetary value of my benefits. And it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy when you think about it that way.
Yeah, I think about that's another thing I'm always grateful for is like I have a union job, so it's like union insurance. So like I don't pay for insurance; it's included in my union dues, which I think recently went from like $75 to $80
Right.
per month. And all my like coworkers were like, "Ah, this is bullshit." It's like, bro,
Yeah. I mean,
your
it is bullshit, but for a different reason. Yeah,
your
not in the way you're
entire
saying it.
your entire immediate family. Some of these guys have like 4 kids, are covered for $80 a month.
$80 a month. That is, I struggle with like, anybody who's anti-union, or whenever I have these conversations, I'm like, and people are like anti-organization, and I'm like, that's what America is.
Yeah.
That's what the United States, a bunch of unionized people decided to collectively bargain for their representation to a king. Like, that is literally what the United States is. We're just a giant union of landowners and all of the privileges put aside. The slave owners, all of that to say, if the more of us unionized against the few of them in a way like that, like, oh god, so frustrating. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
That's basically what it was. Is the king was like, I'm gonna give you guys more taxes, and they're like, we're gonna start a union.
And then that literally, what people don't realize is how, like, unions were invented to stem the violence of workers against their employers.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh, these people are asking too much. I'm like, they used to kill you. They used to murder the bosses. And I just watched that movie. I love it. It's one of my favorite comfort watches, which I'm doing a lot of these days, is comfort watching, to ignore all of the, that's another one of the things we talked about last week, is trying to disconnect and find other ways to use technology rather than doom scrolling.
Yeah.
I love the movie October Sky.
Oh yeah.
Early Gyllenhaal, science, rockets, education, lots of positivity, but also talks about a coal mining town where the town is essentially owned by this one company. So when the workers unionized, they straight up shot into the building to try and kill the mine foreman, or whatever the guy's name, Chris Cooper's character.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, people don't realize we have the 5-day work week and the 40-hour work week as the compromise to the workers killing you. You know what I mean? Like, killing wealthy. So it's like, I don't know, man. There's, like, broaden your scope of awareness a little bit to realize that literally collectively bargaining, which is like the hard part, which was very frustrating during the whole Bernie thing, where it was like, not me, us, and it was all about, like, he's like, I don't care who, don't look at me, look at my policies, don't look at me, look at what all these things are. And now we're in, like, it feels like the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, don't look at how inept or how unable or how, like, dumb this political candidate is. Look at their policies, and then you look at their policies like, no, look at look at what they're saying. Look at them as a person. Hey, look, they're just a family person just like you, and they haven't collected billions of dollars from owning stocks in companies that they themselves regulate. No, of course not.
That's I love that thing of a lot of these dudes are getting rich now because they're tracking whatever, like, Nancy Pelosi, whatever stock she buys, and they're like making so much money.
That's a good. This is going to turn into. I said it at the top of the show. We are not qualified to give financial advice, but that does feel foolproof. It feels foolproof to be like, as soon as it's announced, for us to be like, all right, what are these people who regulate these industries bet their money on?
Yeah.
So crazy. That is one of these things that I've struggled with yesterday, with all the events of yesterday. And
what happened yesterday?
I don't want to talk about it. But all the current events of political discourse and political drama, there's got to be like, how do I distract myself without it being obvious to me that I'm distracting myself? Like, I'm aware of what I'm trying to do. Like, when I put on a TV show to watch, a goofy episode of a comedy or something like that, because everything else is bad, deep down, I'm aware of what I'm doing. How do I trick myself into not, like, being aware of it? Like, how do I just enjoy the thing I'm watching but not as a distraction to, like, a Nero, like, fiddling while Rome is burning, vibe? Because it's hard. It's really difficult.
Well, I think that's one of the I've listened to a lot of Mike Israel. We've talked about him a couple of his podcasts, and one of the things he says is, like, objectively speaking, this is the greatest time to be alive in human history.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, just because of, like, the advances in society and in health and nutrition and science and even when you think about, like, the wars that are going on, there have always been wars going on. We just didn't know about them.
Yes.
like World War II, I think was the last war, or even the Korean War was the last war where it was like you didn't know anything about it until like a month later.
Hmm.
Like it'd be like a month after the Battle of the Bulge, it was like, hey, there was some frozen people dying, and you're like, oh wow, that's crazy. But then it was like the Vietnam War actually had like news reporters there, like sending stuff back immediately, so you knew about it like a day or two after the event happened, and then the Gulf War was like live streamed basically, and now it's like people are like on the ground with Twitter and Facebook and posting stuff, so it's like it's in your face constantly.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, it was so much easier to disassociate and not really inundate yourself with all this negativity. So it is a very selfish thing to be like, I have access to all the knowledge in the world, and that's bad for me.
Yes. It's such a crazy thing to think of how, like, we now have to be so conscious of what knowledge you expose yourself to.
It's
Like,
like it's like in the Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Not that I'm defending it as a good movie or anything like that, but the end when like the villain is like, "Give me all the knowledge," and then they give her all the knowledge, and she's like, "Ah!" and her brain explodes.
yes,
That's
yes.
that's what Twitter is.
That's literally what social media is. Where it's like, my brain did not evolve to have this much stimuli. Did you know what I mean? Like that my brain was good at detecting eyeballs and faces in the night as a threat. That's literally what my brain evolved to do.
Yeah.
And now it's like, hey, have you thought about XYZ of like the worst or best or like the most extreme amounts of knowledge where you're just like, yeah, I understand a little bit now about quantum physics, but also is something leaking out of my ears?
Yeah.
What's happening to my brain?
Yeah,
It's kind of,
there's that thing of like evolution where it's like as far as like how good we've become in society, that we've eliminated so many threats, where it's like the reason like we have this psychological fear of monsters and dragons and horror movies and stuff is because when we didn't have homes to live in or weapons to defend ourselves with, there were actual monsters. Lions are
yeah.
monsters. Tigers are monsters. Bears will eat you and kill you. So we always had to be on the lookout. But now we can just like carry some sprayer in our pocket if we go for a hike and fend off the bear. Or,
Mm.
you know, we have gates that we can keep out all these wild animals. We have various types of firearms that we can defend ourselves with. And
Yeah.
we're not even living amongst these creatures anymore, but we still have that internal anxiety. So now we're like, what, these taxes,
Yeah. No, do you think that's where ghosts come from in like the Victorian era?
Oh, 100%.
Where all of a sudden, like the pivot went from monsters to being like human-like monsters, where it's not about what's coming from the outside, but what's coming from the inside.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like because we pivoted away from being afraid of nature, we're not afraid of nature. We're afraid of, you know, a smoky image of a person, which is like the Industrial Revolution come to life, essentially. Like, and then now technologically, we're afraid of what? What are we afraid of? You know, like we've removed so many fears. We don't even God, I don't know what to talk about. But like the idea of how we've protected ourselves from dangers, it's crazy to me how we're walking around like, what's that animal that had no like predators, that doesn't know what fear is? Oh my god.
I don't know that one.
There was one where there's a story of this it's like some bird or something.
The dodo?
I don't remember. It had to have been something because it's extinct now. But like it was like, oh, it had no natural predators until humans found it. And then like we killed a bunch of it. But it's basically like you don't build up those necessary defenses.
Oh, I know the one. It's like a giant penguin puffin kind of creature.
Yeah,
And
something like that.
yeah, and like Finland or something like that. It was on some island, and it was like then you know, Vikings got there and were like, let's eat all these things.
Yeah, and those things, they would come up and just like they didn't understand when they were being killed or whatever. Like there's stories of they would just come up and volunteer that they were like, we're blessed with all this food. And it's in my mind, I'm like, yeah, they just didn't know to be afraid of you. They didn't know what you were to be afraid to they didn't know what box to put you in, you know? And there's so much of that now. And I think the reverse is true. Rather than us being like, hey, there's what's dangerous, and then we get murdered. We are now trained to be afraid of everything.
Yeah.
You know, like that, like you were talking about how there, like fear does feel like illness or injury these days because it is debilitating. You know what I mean? Like, it can be debilitating when someone tells you to be afraid of everything. It really, like, yesterday, some of my neighbors were wishing me a happy July 14th, Bastille Day or something, with their fireworks still. There's just fireworks still going off. They have been going off since the 4th of July, since before the 4th of July. There's just so much popping noises where I was like, oh, I don't know if I could differentiate. Like, I've heard a gun before.
Yeah.
But my first thought is, well, time to close all these windows and time to stay indoors and time to not go outside into the world. And it's not for any other reason than my brain interpreted it as a danger.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not, we are convinced that it is the worst possible time by all of the knowledge, because, like what you said, because we are aware of it all, but we are safer now than we've ever been. It's just hard for you to, like, your primal lizard brain thinks otherwise. And it's like, well, which one of me is right?
Yeah.
Caveman me, or the one that has too much access to social media at any given moment of the day?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the idea of it does feel like, especially like I'm a straight white dude who, let's be honest. If Donald Trump gets reelected in Project 2025, it's not the worst for me.
It's not the worst for you. You get that's such it's one of those things where it's the worst in general, but it's also like you are cloaked in privilege.
Yeah.
Like there's a certain amount of that for me as well. Like I just got to shave and maybe do a little Americanizing of my life in some way. Yolanda, as a woman, yes, it absolutely does suck for you.
Yeah.
It sucks for more people than it doesn't suck for.
Yeah. I think it's that thing where anytime I'm like, oh, I just want to turn off the news and I don't want to pay attention, then there's this thing. It's like, yeah, you could do that, couldn't you?
That is your thing.
It's not going to affect you. You can. It's okay, little baby. You can go to. It's like, there's that. The burden of privilege where I'm like, no, I gotta fight. I gotta
be present.
Know.
It's hard. It is draining. And look, we are not mental health professionals. We are just two dudes who do this for our own mental health, to talk about this sort of thing. This as a physical fitness thing, like, there is a part of a motivation that does want me to be a survivable body in the Mad Max style future that awaits us. If you want to move to the Bahamas, that's one thing. Now we got to figure out how to survive in a tropical environment. I've been watching bushcraft videos. It's not I understand that there's part of me that is afraid, but part of me also channels that into, I know how to build like 16 different campfires right now.
Oh.
I know what fat wood is. I know how to process and store firewood. I know how to cook over a fire. I don't know how to hunt, but I know how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Bahamas, but all of these things, to bring it back to the concept of the show and not just ramble on about our doom of the future, is I have learned multiple skills that will benefit me, and I learned them because I am afraid for our for our future. I know how to I know how to evaporate water into drinkable water. I know how to purify water. I have water filtration stuff for my backpacking days. This to say, it's the focus of the show is like how are we improving our lives? There's no rule that says you can't improve your life out of fear.
Well, no, did you watch, have you seen Inside Out 2, the latest?
No, I get emotionally invested and I feel like it's going to ruin my day.
No, it's good. It's a good thing. Right, it's good. It's like a Ted Lasso. It'll hit you with something kind of depressing, but then it's like, here's the positive side to it.
Got it.
But, and this is kind of echoed in the first one too, where it's like, in order to have joy, you need to have sadness. And, this one, it's very much like anxiety is there for a reason to protect you. Anxiety, fear, all these negative emotions are there for a reason. So like you said, you can learn good skills out of fear. You can, like I would think we've talked about it before, was like when I when I had more adipose tissue and I didn't look as threatening of a human being as I currently do.
Yeah.
Homeless dudes would try to pick fights with me all the time.
That's true. I remember that.
So, but ever since I got in shape and I have a more muscular build and athletic look to myself, it doesn't happen anymore. So it's like this getting healthy, this being the healthiest I've ever been in my life, is also protecting me from outside dangers. At the same time, I'm preventing diabetes and heart disease and helping my back and whatever it is, my joints, my hips. It's also making it so that crazy guys with blood gushing out of their face no longer tell me they want to kill me.
True story. Yeah. The idea of like wow, I just lost, but you said blood gushing on my face and then I lost what I was going to say. But yeah, the idea that you're benefiting yourself, this like in a primal way, that's why it's so easy to cross the signals into this kind of toxic masculinity of like, you've collaterally benefited your way into like a physical fitness that will make you imposing to other people. I was having a conversation with the therapy, and I was having a conversation, and I was kind of animated about something, and the guy was like, I'm going to stop you right there. And he's like, I'm doing this on purpose. You got wound up. Do you feel like you could be, like, what are you feeling right now? Because I was like hyped about something. I was angry. And he's like, do you feel like that's the kind of reaction you have around people when you get really into something too positively? And it's like, and I realized, like people don't know how to process emotion, like exertion or what do you call it? Like kind of like an expressive person when they're our size.
Yeah.
People will see a big guy, like if I'm happy, if I'm goofy and I'm dancing or whatever around at 6'3", 280,
yeah,
people are going to be like, is he creating something bad gonna, but if you see like a child, you know what I mean? Like being physically imposing has this kind of like primal response to it that homeless dudes with blood gushing out of their face will react to.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's odd that we have we're aware of it, but you could slip into like that toxic masculinity culture of like, would you rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war? And I'm like, I would rather be at a garden in a war 1,000%. Because have you seen how strong farmers are?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen how strong that day-to-day kind of just, you are accidentally turning yourself into like the strongest dude. Goku was a farmer in fucking Dragon Ball at a certain point, because I'm convinced that is where like all of these, like the Spartans, that what is your profession, and all these people training to kill and stuff. And then they're like, oh, they just brought a bunch of like artisans and pottery makers, the Athenians or whatever in the movie 300. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but those guys would also be mad strong. Like those guys would also, if you're throwing clay or carving stone, you're also lifting and moving heavy stone. And like you're incidentally, we live in a time when we're so comfortable. We've removed all of these fear generators, but we've also removed all of these things that would just incidentally make you physically fit.
Yeah, I was watching one of those like historians answer questions about medieval times or Spartan or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there was a one about like, what was it like to be a medieval peasant? How terrible was it? Everybody was dirty, right? And it was like, it was actually cleaner than you think it was. Like you had your outer clothes that you wore almost every day, but then like you had like linen clothes underneath. So when you got sweat, you just like replaced those inner clothes that picked up the sweat. And but one of the things that stuck with me was farmers on average consumed 7,000 calories a day. Their diet was 7,000 calories a day. And to me, I'm like, I get like 3,500 and I go to the gym every day, basically every day, and I do like physical labor at my job. So it's like these guys were consuming that's like Michael Phelps level calories.
I was just gonna say Michael Phelps 10,000. Like, wait, so hold on, that just blew my mind, because you think of medieval times as like, I guess you were either wealthy or you were peasants. But that's because they only really show like the castles,
Yeah.
you know, like,
And
which
that's
again,
all movies too. You're like,
that's all
it's not.
movies. That's
Yeah.
right. It's not real. Fuck, that's true.
So like they said, like meat and stuff, and the banquets, that was all for the rich people. Had the pigs and the, you could get arrested for hunting a deer in the woods or whatever it was. So they said like mostly like medieval peasants ate a lot of root vegetables and stuff like that. But they said they ate a lot of like barley and oats.
Yeah.
Like bread was such a huge part, but like oats have like tons of protein in them. So these dudes were probably like super jacked farmers, which is like when you're like, oh, call your banners where there's an invading army. They were fucking strong as hell. Like they were, put an axe or a spear in their hand. They're warriors already.
They're already trained. Like I'm convinced that like CrossFit, where they're swinging an axe at tires, and I'm like, you're doing the thing that these people would just have to do every day. Like genuinely, we've removed all of these daily chores and replaced them as conveniences, which is the one thing now that we want as our millionaire fantasies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, isn't that crazy? Yolanda says that, hey, like playing outside as a kid, we had 0 video games. We played street ball. You're just, I was pretty healthy. In general, you're just going to be, the more active you are, the less of an indoor kid you were.
Yeah.
The more, the better it was, like that, like the better your physical health was. And I can pinpoint a time in my life that I went from being an outside kid to an indoor kid.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can pinpoint where I became a video game kid. And it's 100% true that like incidentally I remember doing stuff as a kid where like as an adult, I'm like, that's like a feat of strength. Like that's like a feat of endurance to be. It's like, oh, I rode my bike all day.
Yeah.
For hours.
And
like,
you never drink water once.
Not once.
You
and I'm
go
like
12 hours. Maybe you drink out of a hose at one point. And that was it.
That is one of the biggest pivots I've seen with my nieces. They have water bottles that they drink from, and they're encouraged to drink from all the time. I don't remember ever having a water bottle or some sort of like source of like drink water. If like you're thirsty, you go drink water that from the hose. It's just such an interesting like pivot just in our own lives, and then of course medieval times through human history, and then in like as evolutionarily, like every stage of life and every generation kind of like gets their brain focuses on different struggles.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Great Depression people were like, oats and barley have protein? Who gives this shit? I'm hungry. Like I'm sure that the Dust Bowl was just like, what do we have? It's like, oh, you're gluten intolerant? It's like, well, guess what? You're gonna just die then. You know what I mean? Like you're just gonna die. You're allergic to peanuts, and we only have peanuts to eat. I'm so sorry, but this is bad for you.
That's like when fear gets becomes a detriment, where it's there was the thing about some kids are allergic to peanuts, so keep the peanuts away from the kids in the schools and stuff. But now like all these doctors are going, yeah, that was the wrong thing. It's actually you should give peanuts to your kids as early as possible.
Yes,
like
yeah.
Give your baby a spoonful of peanut butter every now and then, just so they can build up a tolerance to it, and because it is one of those allergies that you can get rid of.
Yeah. Now that they like made it like a nuclear response. I hate sounding like these comedians that use the peanuts thing to be like, that's why autism isn't real. And it's like, I don't know, man. Your dad obsessed over a model railroad and knew the name of every car part in the world and knew how, you know what I mean? Like I don't understand. I think it's just that you weren't aware of it, like what it actually is. You know what I mean? Like you could just say that you don't know. You could just say that you don't know. I think that's like a universal thing of like, we live in a time where all of the world's knowledge is available to you, but I think it's a privilege to not know things now at this point.
Yeah, I think nowadays, because we have the access to the entirety of human knowledge, is that everybody wants to be an expert. Whereas back in the day, it was like, yeah, I don't know, man. I just you got me. I don't know what this means.
I said this at work, and people lost their mind because they were like, "What?" I'm like, I don't have enough information to form an opinion on that.
Yeah.
and they were like, they froze, and they were like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, I'm sure there's a lot of information about that subject that is available, but I don't know it, so I'm just going to withhold forming an opinion. Then I know, but how do you feel about it? And I'm like, I don't have an opinion. I can choose to not have an opinion. Like, yeah, but you do. You have one. And I'm like, and I am aware that it is uneducated. I am aware of my gut reaction, but it is an uneducated opinion. So I'm going to kind of not value it. It's like, I don't know enough about this to have an opinion. Like, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to fucking keep your mouth shut. It's like you're trained. You've been trained that your opinion matters. It does not. Your opinion, whether it's educated or not, is an opinion. And unless someone asks you for it, it's not valuable. That's like it.
One of my least favorite things online is when somebody will say, like, "Oh, your silence is deafening." My silence is because I don't know.
Like,
I don't know anything about this.
How can I be dumb and deafening at the same time? Those are I don't know. Yeah, it's like I'm choosing to. I
don't know. Can you please explain it to me? Oh, it's not my job to educate you. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Why am I talking to you then? Why are you talking to me? Stop talking to me.
This is how conversations work.
Yeah, for real. The truth of there is like, I respect the people who are like, it's not my job to educate you about cultural appropriation or racial sensitivity or misogyny and sex or sexism in the workplace, or not misogyny. That's the wrong one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who are like a woman doesn't it's not responsible for your emotional, health or whatever it is. Like all of these things where I'm like, yeah, I get it. But also like, if someone's coming to you within if someone comes to me and asks me about the Cuban American diaspora and the experience of someone who was raised as a first generation immigrant in this country, I can give you my experience, but I can't speak for all of us, right? So if you come to me, you're like, what's your experience been? I'll be happy to share it to you. But if you come to me and you're like, speak for all of the people who came from Cuba, I'd be like, I refuse to. Not that I can't, but I can do that. I'd be wrong. Why would I do something that I know I'm not going to be able to do correctly? I just don't get it. I don't know. Like the way conversations happen now, it feels that does feel like we're just constantly backsliding. That does feel like we've lost something, where it's like you could have a conversation. Now, granted, you are not owed a conversation for any reason, where someone comes up to be like, I believe black people are worth less than 3/5 of a human than white people or whatever. And then it could be like, oh, okay, bye. You can
cut that off.
Yeah. It's like, no. That's that whole meme of we can disagree about pizza toppings.
Yeah.
But we can't disagree about like a trans person's right to exist. Those kind of things where I'm just like, okay, yeah, you're allowed your opinion, but I'm also allowed to like not want to talk to you about it.
That's leave me alone. Like back in the day, I would like argue with anybody who would like trolled me or whatever it was, like online. And now it's like so much easier just to like delete, unfriend, block, whatever it is. Like
I did it for my mental health, man. I was just going through my Facebook because the birthdays pop up, and that's like my culling. That's like my, speaking of farming, that's like my scythe that just chops all the grass down, where I'm like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Click.
It's like, I got a baby. And it's like, cool. I don't remember where I know you from. So
is it mine?
Then good luck with your baby.
Good luck with your baby. Bye. It's like I'm trying to get down to village levels of people I know.
Yeah.
My social media, I don't want it to be a metropolis. I want it to be a curated little village where I know everyone, where I can be like, hey, you're the baker, and hi, you're the, that's
you want the opening to Beauty and the Beast?
More than anything. I want that weird lady that's like, I need 6 eggs. I want to help her. I want to give her 6 eggs. Here's the thing. And look, we talk about like,
there goes Mike with his bum bum bum.
Yeah, everybody's singing a song. What a joy. And meanwhile, this girl is like reading her books and contributing nothing. She's just contributing. Oh, she's so beautiful. It's like, yeah, but what is she doing? Is she farming? Is she weaving? Is she doing something to contribute to the village? No, she's just, her dad's the weirdo. Like, come on. I would be my friend used to joke around that he was LeFou and I was Gaston, just because of height. And it was one of those things where I was like, no, but if I was Gaston, like if you're the hero of a village and you're the hunter and you're the provider, like you're gonna have a little bit of an ego, and people are going to fawn over you a little bit. And that's like, I honestly think that's why we have superhero culture now, because it's more about like trying to embody this kind of like savior thing, this hero like complex, whatever. This is a topic for another thing. Derailed me from my point of we should all try to live like if we talk about body, mind, and community, we should all be farmers. What a better way to do all of three of those things than to just start growing something and tilling the soil.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to start a garden. That's my new thing. I'm going to start mind, body, and community. I'm starting a garden. And you want to know what? I'm going to give what I grow away.
Do you have an area that you can garden in your apartment in LA?
No, but I have seen vertical gardens that you do in pots that you can do like with water filtration systems.
Yeah.
I can do a solar powered one. I've seen it. Again, preparing for the imminent doom of our society and the social collapse. I have been looking at the ways to like do that. You can grow lettuce. You can grow all kinds of shit. Tomatoes. I could also grow like those pallet gardens where you can do them on like little vertical gardens on like a pallet. I've looked it up. It's possible. So what I'm going to do is try and grow a garden, and we'll see how good I do. But like, I do think that is something that we're removed from the source of our food, like where our food comes from. That is a mental health thing. To grow something and eat it is like the most human thing you can do as an animal, the human animal. I'm going to work out in some way because I got to carry these bags of soil and till the earth or whatever. And I gotta, and like, I'm going to be like, hey, I just grew a whole bunch of shit. Is there like a way to do a community garden? Maybe we can figure out a way, and I'm going to bring people together in my little community. Why not? What a fun goal.
Man, you gotta tic-tac-toe with that one.
I think I did. Guys, did I just solve the apocalypse? Did I just solve?
I think you did.
I think I did.
I think your fear of Armageddon has made you a better person.
My fear of Armageddon has collaterally benefited my life.
Yeah.
People talk about those doomsday preppers all the time as like psychos, but those are also the guys. I'm obsessed with the show Alone. The show like drops people out in the wilderness, and like they have to be resourceful and build their own shelters and protect themselves in the wild. The doomsday preppers, the ones that are doing it right, like all these bushcrafters in the fucking woods and YouTube showing me how to tie knots, they're the ones that like, if something were to happen where like every city becomes uninhabitable, I'd be like, okay, what are the skills you need to do? They got all the skills already. They're there. They're set. So I don't know. I think that the fear of a zombie apocalypse will inherently prepare you in some way for just improving your life. If you're like, oh, I like it. The perfect example is in Zombieland. What's rule number 1 in Zombieland?
Cardio.
Rule number 1, cardio. And they talk about it, and I'm like, fuck, that's such a good idea. Yeah, that's where we're at Collateral Benefit. We're preparing for any number of potential apocalypses by learning life skills, improving our health, and helping the community around us. That's it.
Yeah, you need to have the apocalypse now.
Bring it on. Yolanda says I need to grow a bomb shelter. Hey, sure, why not? Stock it with non-perishable stuff, including Twinkies. If you've watched Zombieland, you know exactly what we're talking about. That I'm being facetious, but of course, those goals I do feel like I could move forward with a little bit. Maybe plan a little balcony planting session. Maybe a little, even if it's just flowers. Let's see, maybe grow some pretty flowers for my wife. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what we do. That's a new thing that I think will help me in my mental health journey. So let's talk about what do we want to focus on for body. Mine is mimic farmers.
Uh-huh.
Do functional workout training, I guess, like a lot of those like exercises, those axe swings on the cable machine. Like just I'm gonna start. I literally that was one of my PT exercises that I should be doing for my
Mhm.
back. I'm gonna try it out today. What do you got for body? What's our focus for the week for body?
It kind of goes off of what you were just saying, as well as something we talked about last week, which is the concept of deadlifting. Because I did hear another video where doing some more research into it, and it's somebody asked, should I do deadlifting even though I'm not a competitive bodybuilder? And he said, well, the guy was like in his early 20s, and he said, well, when you're a father in your 30s and 40s, do you want to pick up your kid? And it's like, what is deadlifting or what is picking up a kid? You're just reaching down and picking them up. So it's the same movement. So
Wow. Okay.
deadlift, or when you're older and you drop something on the ground, you need to pick it up. That's what it is. It's you're picking up something that's just dead on the ground and picking it up.
As someone who is remarkably stiff in the mornings, when I go lift the toilet seat, where I'm just kind of like bracing on a wall, like to go pee in the morning, where I'm just like, oh God, I gotta stretch out. I gotta do all this stuff. It's like, oh no, you're talking about me. Oh no.
What are you working on today? I'm like, lifting the toilet seat.
Not even off the ground. Not even off the ground. Lifting the toilet seat. After, like, I will say that after sleeping, because it is like, don't you feel stiff when you wake up? Do you have a wake up routine? Like a wake up regimen or something?
I feel when I wake up in the morning, I feel stiff in a couple different ways. But
also true.
Which also makes it hard to pee.
Hey man, I'm 43 now. I still got it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of like, maybe that's another thing. Maybe we could add that into there's morning stretches and stuff like that, because it is good to stretch out the fascia and the joints and pop all the pops.
Yeah, pop the car. I used to joke around like I sound like a cartoon skeleton being played like a xylophone in the morning. Like it's always like lots of cricks and creaks and cranks. But yeah, that is the thing. So like in deadlifts, I understand that has got to help in when you're warm already to be able to lift stuff off the ground. But also you got to warm up in the morning to be able to do that sort of thing, I guess. What about mind? I loved what we talked about earlier on of doing an inventory of the things that you would normally take for granted just in your everyday incidental surroundings. Like Yolanda lives in Tennessee, where there's like a beautiful lake behind her. She has deer that come to the house every day. Spoiler alert, I know Yolanda, she's my stepmom. And so they live in Tennessee. They got deer coming up to the house. She's got like pet raccoon. Or she had, I'm not 100% sure. And then, she has all this environmental stuff to look at around her that probably is benefiting her mentally in some way, just to be able to calm her mind. Like when I need distraction from my phone and I want to look at something that will benefit me, like my mental health, I go out on my balcony, I look at the skyline, I look up at my view, or, I go up to the window that I have up here and you can see the sunset. Like that does inherently default setting calm you down. Maybe that checking in, that inventory of the things you have in your life that are already just benefiting you without you doing anything. I feel like that's a good place to start for like just a check-in, Yolanda, exactly. Our back deck is a respite. It is. Yeah, I've been there. I love it. Whenever I talk about like going out into the woods, I always just describe like, oh, we want to go to a cabin, and then I just describe their backyard. It's 100% true. That's my focus for the mind, just doing an inventory of incidental benefits that you have around you already that you don't have to do anything to attain. You just have to be aware.
Yeah, I think gratitude. One of the caveats I would say is I like starting to do this thing where I'm doing gratitude without comparison, because in both ways, because it's like gratitude without comparison. It's like, because I used to be like, I don't have my own pool in my backyard, but at least I have this. Or
Mm.
or on the other way, it would be like,
Interesting.
on the other way, it'd be like, that guy's homeless, so I should be appreciative of the fact that I have a roof over my head. But I feel like by doing either of those, you diminish what you actually do have. You're putting this either guilt, or you're putting this
God, that's right.
jealousy aspect on it. So it's either way. So it's just like, this is what I'm grateful for. I am grateful for the life I'm currently living, and the area my apartment is located in, and I'm grateful that there's a pretty good pizza place across the street, and I'm grateful that I get to spend time with my wife, or I get to do this, or I get to do, whatever it is, without comparing it to other people, whether they're better off or worse off than I am. Just, this is what it is.
That's that whole saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That I didn't even think about it in those terms of like comparing, using that in contrast to like, well, I should feel good about what I have because other people don't. And then you're like, well, other people don't is kind of like, are you saying you're better by comparison? Are you know what I mean? Yeah, I fully understand.
Yeah.
There should not be a caveat to your gratitude of your situation, of you, that like talking about the inventory of the things that you have, like Yolanda's back deck or something like that, where instead of saying, so which, where you're like, oh, so this is my important thing that I am going to enjoy, the end. No, not because, like, this is good. This is good. That's like a Kurt Vonnegut quote that it's in one of his books where he talks about how his uncle would always say, saying, well, if this ain't nice, what is? Like every time something was positive, he would just be like, which I guess is kind of the opposite, where he's like, this is great. Like just acknowledging the goodness of a moment in the moment, and just being like, well, if this isn't nice, what is? Basically, I guess sarcastically calling it out, where it's like, this is great,
Yeah.
And then also, if this isn't nice, show me something better,
Mm.
So.
Yeah, because I think if you do express that gratitude, when you have the moments where you're not enjoying something, you can find the goodness in whatever the moment is.
Yeah, that is I do like that idea of like, when you're not comparing, you can just see things as good or needing improvement. You know what I mean? Like, this is great, and then that's the end of the conversation. This is great. I love this. And then you can just live in that emotion, as opposed to, this is great. Last time this was bad, and now you were only in the good emotion for like a second.
Yeah.
And you immediately went to thinking about how bad it was last time. And I'm like, yeah, on a long enough timeline, that sucks. you're thinking more bad than good. Yeah. And in terms of community and relationships around us, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna see if I can grow something and gift it to the people around me, the closest of which being my wife. Yeah. For others. What about you?
For community, I don't know. We're talking about farming. I don't have access to farming, so I can't give anything away. Let me think. You know what I could do? I could say community could also involve reaching out. So I could say, Mike, what do you think I should do for community?
I do. You know what I was talking about with like, because again, our definition of community on this podcast is the relationships with the people and like the expanding circles of people around you. I would say, to kind of keep, like, in the way you were talking about gratitude without comparison, what in conversations you have with the people around you at work or whatever, sharing that sentiment might be a gift to someone who needs it in the moment. So taking this, like what we're doing right now, I feel is part of the community thing, where like hearing you say that reminded me, of course, I've heard this before. Comparison is the thief of joy. But putting it into context for people in the moment might be a very real thing. Like if someone hearing this right now, like Yolanda thinking about her deck, may give her a moment of peace and be like, you know what, I am going to go look at the deck. Yeah. And if she goes outside and she realizes, it's not as hot as I thought it was, maybe I will go for a walk. Those things are the collateral benefit that come from wanting to improve yourself. So I don't see why that wouldn't count as community,
Yeah.
So I would say, share your insights. Share insights with the people around you, if they are willing to receive it, of course. So we just had a whole conversation about like your opinion doesn't matter, but it's also like, hey, we're trying to help each other, and here's what's helped me, and you can give testimony. That's a perfectly valid form of like just having a conversation. That people share experiences. With the ADHD thing, a lot of the or like people on the spectrum, they filter topics when someone's talking about stuff as I'm going to share my experience, not because I want to make it about me, but to show you how much I relate to you.
Yeah.
So when people think of these conversations as like, oh, don't make the conversation about you. And I'm like, no, it's about how we are the same. Like that's how I view those things. So like whenever you're in a conversation, you're like, here's what's helped me in the past, about that specific situation. Here's a similar situation, and here's what I did. That is such a beneficial conversation to be able to receive too. If you're in the mindset for it, when someone's like, oh, here's what I've done. And that's kind of a powerful community thing for the immediate people around you, like at work, even if it's just something like, oh, here's how I fixed that machine that keeps breaking last time.
Yeah.
And then now you don't have to call me for it. You can do it yourself. We can improve your day, by not having to deal with how this thing broke again.
It's a positive spin on the internet, because I know we were dogging it, but it's kind of like that thing where it's when somebody asks a very specific question into Reddit, and like some dude from like 8 years ago found the answer to that very specific question, and it's like, oh, it's not just me that has that bump on my toe.
Yes, yeah.
And this person said it was just a mosquito bite or whatever it was. And it's like, oh, cool, this common experience that is not just isolated to myself. It's like, oh, okay, there's this community or even the thing where it's like, was I the only one as a kid who did this? And then everybody's like, holy shit, everybody did do the mechanical.
Everybody did this. Yeah,
everybody pretended the mechanical pencil was a heroin needle. Like, how come we all did that?
Everybody did that. That's so true. It is. There is a community aspect to that. That's why the internet started in the first place. Well, not really. It started to share defense secrets, but the social aspect of the internet became, like a place where if you couldn't find the immediate people around you to identify with, you could find it online, and those communities grew. And then, of course, capitalism found its way to monetize all of that. Think about the early MySpace days, the golden age of social media, where everyone was just online having a good time, collecting friends and broadening your circles of awareness. Like, what a time. Then someone put a fucking banner ad in there, and it's like, oh, what? We can make money off of these people's attention? And now look at us. Look where we are.
Occasionally you still see people do positive things. Like I saw on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, there was somebody shared a video of a bunch of nerds, and they were all like doing like a lightsaber ceremony, and somebody was like, look at these grown-ass people acting like kids. And then like it was almost like unanimously, I mean, everybody came together, was like, no, this is cool, good for them.
This is great.
I wish I had friends like this, and those people probably met online in like the lightsaber group or what Jedi group or whatever it is, and like it's like, oh yeah, it's still, that kind of internet still exists.
Yeah, it's like the origin, the first time weekend that Pokemon Go got released. Do you remember that in New York? I remember walking around and seeing like so it's New York, it's Queens where I lived. Every ethnic group and nationality and culture was represented in the army of people just getting more physical fitness and exercise, trying to catch these Pokemon. It was like a utopia for a split second. It was like everyone was just like, hi, everybody. We're out of our homes. Hello. Did you catch something fun? Here's what I caught. Let's go over here. There's a Vaporeon or whatever the fuck. It was like such a glorious time. I loved it. It was just the idea of it is calming.
I remember there's like some I was in Washington Square Park, and there was some Dominican dude, and he was like announced like at the top of his lungs, like, don't go over there, it's just a bunch of Raditas, but if you go over there, there's a gas leak. It's like he's just some stranger who was like, hey guys, I got the hookup. He's like too many Pidgeys over there.
Some sort of Pokemon oracle in real life. It's a real life guy that you can interact with, that he's going on quests. Like, what a joy. What a fun time. Oh, man. For the record, all you doomsday preppers, you can download all of Wikipedia onto a USB flash drive.
Whoa.
14 gigs uncompressed, 14 gigs compressed, and then you can uncompress it onto wherever else you're going to put it, or 58 gigs uncompressed 58 gigs with the media. So like if you need access to information when you don't have the internet, you could just have it. So
Damn.
yeah, all of Wikipedia fits on my phone. It fits on my phone.
Damn.
It's pretty great.
Your phone is going to be the new Book of Eli.
Right? In more ways than one, I think. Because imagine you're blind and you can't look at. Oh my god. Yeah. But I wonder if I can put the link somewhere in the chat. Let's see. Let me see if this works. And that's if you want to prep doomsday style, you can download all that stuff. And all of that knowledge is available to you. That's like the blessing and the curse of the modern internet, what we were talking about, where it's like, go start a farm. I'm sure there's a way to do like gardening and other methods. There has to be. I'm going to use this to start my little community garden. Will, is there anything else you'd like to share before we leave today?
No, but I do think it would be very funny if somebody finds your flash drive after the apocalypse and is like, this guy has all of human knowledge, everything from how to make a battery to what furries are.
Yeah, literally. So it's like some obscure, so like, who's Paul Rubens? You know, like oh, what? You know, like with some super specific, like let's like, you know how when you click on Wikipedia you can click a random article.
Yeah,
like you go to, you know, I forgot where is it, random article. Today is Ingmar Liljefors, Swedish composer, pianist, writer of music, born in 1906, died 1981. Ooh, my birthday.
Someone's gonna click on that and be like, great, now I can feed my family.
Exactly. Random article. Let's learn about the Sheridan Township in Redwood County, Minnesota. All right. Is there anything in here about survival? Let me just see what it says when you look up survival. Meaning, yep, historical concepts in popular culture, in film. They're going to be like in video games. What's a video game? Just reestablish society through Wikipedia articles. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You've humored us in these last couple moments of us goofing around on Wikipedia. Go download all of it. You can.
And print it out because there's no electricity in the apocalypse.
That's right. So, or learn how to develop voltaic solar panels. That is also a thing you could learn on Wikipedia. Thank you, Will. I love hanging out with you every week. This is one of my fun moments of the week.
Yeah.
This is my church, and you are my geez. No, I'm just kidding. That's too much. Thank you, everybody. If you're watching this live, thank you, Yolanda. Thank you for being in the chat. If you want to join us, if you're watching or listening to this in the future, I hope there still is a future. And then also, come join us live. Follow us at Zeros on Heroes on all social media, or follow us at Mike Mercadal and at Mike Mercadal and at William A. Watkins on social media. William A. Watkins 1 on Instagram, I think you are now.
Yeah.
For reasons. And be notified when we go live, and jump on and join in the chat. Get in the chat like Yolanda did. Have fun. Also, if you have any ideas of stuff that you're in ways that you're benefiting your life and you would like to share that with us, or if there's something you're struggling with and you want to dumbasses who are qualified to give no advice, but you just like hanging out with us and you want us to hear our thoughts on it, send us an email at zerosonheroes@gmail.com. We have an email where you can send stuff to, so we can respond to it. And also, don't send us dumb things that will spam us. Don't spam us.
Oh yeah.
But we'd love to hear about ways that you're benefiting your life and how they've affected the areas around it and rippled out to collaterally benefit everything else. Will, thank you for joining me. You're looking good.
You too, man. I love the pointy beard.
It's only pointy because I keep pulling on it as like as like a what do they call it? Self-soothing, just kind of like stimming.
Nervous twitch.
It says I have evil thoughts, so I'm like, I wonder what. Let me think pensively about something. Again, what a privilege to have a beard. Thank you, genetics, and thank you, Dad, for having that available to me. Will, thank you. Just trying to look like you. You are a benefit in my life. Being friends with you, your friendship means a lot to me. Everybody, thank you all. Remember, follow us, like, share, and subscribe. Spread the word. We're going to do this anyway, just because it's good for our mental health. But it would be nice to have some people who want to join our community. Yeah. Thank you all. Remember to go out and be heroic.